Hi and welcome. We're back again. We we launched a little bit of a sort of introduction video, and we actually talked for an hour last time we were together. But my name's Kit, and we're broadcasting on both our channels. And this is Khaled here, and we're going to compare the Elipsa, the Kobo Elipsa 2E, and the Kindle Scribe. If you're watching on my channel, and perhaps you don't know Khaled's channel. It's an excellent e-reader channel, and it's based on, it's quite new to YouTube, but it's based on a lot of experience of writing about e-ink tablets, or e-readers, I should say, because e-ink tablets are still a relatively new thing. But if you wanted to ever check out Ali's ebook, it's a German website, which is where Khaled's been writing for some time about these.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Kit. And I think everybody knows who's watching on my channel already know you. So you're established ink tablet reviewer. So I think everybody knows your expertise.
And one comment we had at this before going live was this, Khaled. I think this is perhaps me jumping over you, so I'm going to make sure I give you plenty of time to speak. It was quite a funny little comment in the chat. Thanks, Carlos. I'm going to shut up for a minute. But this is a lot of fun. We really enjoy this, so thanks very much if you're joining us live. If you're joining this on the replay, then you can still put comments and questions that we can get to in the future, and it will inform future videos that we do as well. But really, we're going to focus in on two really reading focused devices today, which is the Kobo Elipsa 2E, that's this one, and the Kindle Scribe. So we're sort of loosely structuring this as a bit of a sort of debate, but it's going to be a discussion. Which one should you buy? And these are, for me, a little bit of a different category to some of the other e-ink tablets that we now have, because these are readers primarily, and if you really want a reading focused device, this is probably the two to go for in this size now. And what do you think about that, Khaled?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you can categorize e-ink tablets into three categories. So you have the e-reader focused devices, the Android devices where you can do anything pretty much, and the note-taking devices like the Remarkable 2 or Supernote devices. And like I said, those, the Scribe and the Elipsa 2E, are mainly for reading, but have some pretty interesting note-taking features as well.
So readers, note takers, and Android tablets. Yeah, interesting.
Basically, yeah, I'd say.
Yeah, and I think that you, as a consumer, if you're watching this, this is a really good way to start your journey and think about which one might be for you, because these do not have the features that an Android tablet will have, and an Android tablet won't be quite such a nice reader as these are. So it's really worth thinking from that start point of what are you actually going to use the thing for, rather than just thinking, well, which one is actually best. And I'm lucky to recommend these, and I'm lucky that I've had the opportunity to try all of these because I really like them. And I was thinking about this on the way into the stream, Khaled, and I don't think there's one of these e-ink tablets that I've actually disliked. There's not been one that I've actually not wanted to use and I've not been happy to actually have in the bag. There's a couple that I'm less likely to recommend, and would recommend for fewer people. These are quite specific use cases that these would suit, but I certainly there's not been one that if it was the only ink tablet that I used, would I not be absolutely delighted about? I mean, is there any that you have actively disliked, do you think, Khaled?
No, not really. So I actually did a write-up for my website on e-ink tablets, on the available models right now. And I had a really hard time to, do the recommendations, because all of them have their selling points, and all of them have unique selling points that stand out for a specific device. So for everyone, there is one device available, no matter I think no matter what they need. And every device can be the right one depending on what you need, basically.
Yeah, and these
limited
two,
size.
yeah, that makes perfect sense. These two we're comparing are the right devices if you love reading and reading is your main use of these. These are the two really reading focused devices, and so you can sort of consider them as being the main contenders if that's what you really want. So I noticed actually when I went from the Kobo to the Tab Ultra C recently, so I finished sort of using this and daily driving it to review it, and I started using the Tab Ultra C, and it's a great tablet, absolutely wonderful tablet. But I thought, oh, I just want to stand and read. You know, I have to do these duties, and you have to stand for a bit. And actually, the Kobo Elipsa was such an easy device to stand and read because it's so much lighter. Whereas taking the Tab Ultra C in its keyboard case, it wasn't quite as pleasant a reading experience, just because of the difference in weight for a start. So that's why you might want these. But really, one of the biggest differences between the way they work might come down to what's the best way to actually annotate an ebook, because they work in quite distinct ways. If I annotate on the Kobo, it does let me do something that people definitely request on the Kindle Scribe, and that is I can annotate directly. I'm going to just solo my view or main my view if I can. Where is it? I can annotate directly on the screen on the ebook. Now, I'm not sure this is the very best way, incidentally, because for me, well, I've run out of space there to write what I want to write. Now, the reason why they don't all do it this way is because now if I change the font size, if I zoom in or zoom out, then I lose that note, because ebooks, they do reflow. They're not a set format. They just reflow to fit a page worth of text on the screen at any time, depending on your font size and line spacing and all of these options. And then it just remembers the view that I had. It sort of saves almost like a screenshot of where that markup was. And I can return to this view, I believe. Revert to these settings, yeah. And well, even then, I have clicked revert to these settings. It's not showing me the thing. So is that really the best way? It's an interesting one. How does the Kindle Scribe handle it?
Yeah, on the Kindle Scribe, Amazon handles it differently. You can do sticky notes. You can do it with the software option here, or with using the shortcut button if you set it. And you just tap the screen where you want to create a note. And doing that will show this pop-up here. And with this pop-up, you have the option to do handwritten notes directly in here. So and you can switch the pen. I think that's an advantage over the Elipsa. I think you can't change the pen style on the Elipsa. So you can change the pen. This is a note. Excuse my handwriting. And the second option is you can do it with a QWERTY keyboard. So you can switch to a text note and just type the note the old-fashioned way. So you have these two options. And actually, you have a third one because you don't need to use the pen. So you can close this one, and you can just tap and hold the word you want to annotate. And actually, you have the option, same as with the Elipsa. Obviously, you can look up words in a dictionary, but you can do the annotations from here as well. So those are the two options. And like you said, the main benefit is that you can do handwritten note-taking in a dedicated space, and you have a lot more room.
Yeah, although you can't expand that room. You're limited by just to that box, aren't you, I think? Which that frustrated me. You can add a note, and then you can, as you say, with a QWERTY on-screen keyboard, which, you know, nobody really wants to use this for a long time, with the Kobo as well. But they can't. What you can't do on the Kobo is write with the pen into that box. And the way that I actually used it, my favorite way to use annotations with the Kindle Scribe was to actually, I don't know if you just want to show this, just to actually do a highlight And then rather than it become a sticky note, which is this kind of tiny little icon, which is quite hard to see, but if you
it's here.
if you hold, yeah, it's quite small, you see. But if you hold down, it will do a highlight. If you select a whole bit of text, rather, like you would an annotation, select a whole paragraph.
Like this.
Yeah, exactly. And now you can add a note, and then you can just write into that note. See, and
That's actually pulled up the note I did
it has, hasn't
before.
it? Yeah, but if you did a separate one somewhere else, it would do it another little note. And this is the way that I quite like that, actually, because then you've got, when you export that, you've got the text that you highlighted, and you've got your handwritten note just next to that as well. So that's quite a nice way to do a bit of focused reading, in my opinion. Yeah, so that's the way they handle it, and it's just very worth being aware. If you want to annotate in the margin, so to speak, of your ebook, you want to go Kobo, because Kindle just don't let you do that. There's been some really interesting comments already, everybody. We will get around to them. If you've got any big questions, then a good thing to do would be just to put some question marks before, so we can really see them as well. But we will sort of pause. We're going to deal with these. We're going to talk about these two ebooks, but we're also going to talk about color ink after we've gone through these as well. So let's carry on with these for now, but feel free to comment, and we will go through those and answer any questions we've got. Yeah, so what about so input lag we wanted to talk about, and we wondered why Kobo have gone for this one. Yeah, because it's just not as good, is it? This is a I'm not sure what standard of pen this is. I've heard it called like the Microsoft standard. It seems to be an open sort of standard that a lot of different ones use, but I've tried this pen on other devices apart from the first Elipsa. It works on the first Elipsa, but it doesn't work on any other device that I can see, at least. So I don't know how this will come across on this screen, but you can probably see there is definitely more of a latency, more of a lag here between that as this pen and compared to the Scribe. I don't know if you just want to do a similar thing with that. You're getting the benefits of what is Wacom's proprietary EMR tech, which is really, it is the best. If you haven't heard of Wacom, they're probably the leading brand of pen input on all different platforms. And for some reason, Kobo haven't gone with that. Why do you think that might be? Is it about money, do you think, Khaled?
Yeah, to be honest, I have no idea why. So I think it's hard to switch after they did it with the first generation, because now they want to keep backwards compatibility and don't want to use a new screen tech and a new pen you can't use with your older devices, possibly. But no idea. Maybe it's more expensive, the Wacom technology, or maybe they wanted to differentiate themselves. So, but it's basically, as you said, it's a tiny bit slower than the Wacom technology or than the pen input on the Kindle Scribe.
It's also got two buttons on it, hasn't it? It's got an eraser and it's got a highlighter. But actually, this has got the same, hasn't it? Yeah. So they both have the same amount of. Yeah, you got a normal pen, you've got a highlight, and you've got an eraser on the back. You need to buy the premium pen to get that with the Scribe, of course. So yeah, is it maybe just about well, Amazon have been able to sort of undercut the market a little bit there by offering 300 DPI screen, which this is only the 227 PPI DPI dots per inch or pixels per inch. That sort of pixel density. This is a lower pixel density than the Scribe is, and you're getting the Wacom there. So something to really think about if you're making the choice between these two is the hardware is a little bit more premium hardware on the Kindle. Do you think that's fair?
Halid? Yeah, that's fair. I think, and as you said, Amazon is undercutting the price, and they always did it with all the e-readers as well. So they always put the price under the competition and use the ebook sales to keep up with the pricing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So that's an interesting one. But what you don't ever get on the Kindle Scribe, there's no option to have the ads and have a little bit off the price, which is an interesting one. So normal Kindle ebooks, e-readers, you can have lock screen ads or not, and that just saves you a little bit of money if you opt to go without the ads. Sorry. I just want to talk about one thing which is a bit unforgivable from the Kobo, which is that I actually lost I lost annotations, and I actually lost a whole notebook at one point. I think it was just in between sort of syncing. I must have been sort of asking it to sync. It was airplane mode and syncing. It just, notebook disappeared. I think that happened once it did happen once on the Kindle Scribe as well. So it is to be aware that, these things aren't totally infallible. I don't know whether I've ever had that on a Boox or a Supernote tablet. I can't think of an individual time where that's happened on any of a tablet. Have you noticed anything about any things going missing on either of those?
Yeah, not on the Scribe, so I haven't had any
Mm.
problems with that. But on the Elipsa 2E, I had a similar problem, and I actually can reproduce it every time I'm using the annotation function in an ebook.
Right.
So writing in an ebook, more often than not, and it wasn't like this in the beginning. So I think it got worse over time.
Yeah.
So when annotating an ebook, my note is just going missing.
Right.
So
So how does that appear
just
then?
turning a page, like doing
Oh,
like
really?
this, doing it like this,
Yeah.
and turning a page and going back, and it's gone. Yeah, that happened to me so often. It got to a point where I tried other ebooks and looking up firmware updates, but nothing
I
helped.
wonder if that's the reason why why Kindle haven't gone for the sort of annotating on a reflow book, because maybe that's a bug with that. So that's the interesting one about bugs. There's a weird thing, we've both experienced this. The palm rejection doesn't seem so good on the Kobo. It's not quite as good as the Scribe, especially, I must say, if I'm in a advanced notebook. I think partly because, or if I'm in PDF, incidentally, partly because
exactly.
they seem to have put it's not loading my advanced notebook. Maybe it's taken a bit of time. It's quite a large one. They seem to have put the scroll bar right where there it is. Look, right where your hand would rest. So often and I can't find a way. Have you found a way to change this to left-handed or right-handed mode? Because I would say for a right-handed person, the scroll bar should be on this side.
No, I haven't found a way to do that.
And I haven't found one either. And
I had the same problem with it.
Yeah. So that's an interesting one, really. The other thing is, and somebody's asked the question, yeah, absolutely, a workflow with PDF scripts you want to take notes in. Well, yeah, there's something I was planning on talking about slightly later, but I live in a PDF on my ink tablets. I run a little PDF. If I go, I think it has to be in my books because it's a PDF. Yeah, what I call my F packet planner. But actually, I do get accidental. Again, I can't make it do it now. But the experience of annotating within the PDF isn't as good as annotating in a normal notebook. You don't, as you said, Khaled, at the start, you said that you don't get the option of different pen types, and the pen just doesn't see if I draw straight lines. They just they do have quite a bit of jitter. The pen in the PDF just isn't as pleasing. And there's one thing you can notice this down here at the bottom here. I've left that on there just to show you that there's this weird thing. I think it might be when the pen starts to run out of charge, because this pen needs to be charged. But you start to get this weird kind of jitter. It starts writing before it's touched the screen. And
I noticed that with using the eraser function. If you're using the eraser and switching back or turning the pen around, then it recognizes the pen before it hits the screen, and then you get those weird lines, and handwriting is not really readable.
So that one more time.
I had to do a few takes.
Yeah. Oh, I see, but you got it. Yeah. So there's just one or two things. slightly buggy in here. And again, I think let's not forget this does more. There's more to go wrong. They have kept the Kindle Scribe nice and simple, but we're on the second generation here, and you'd hope that it'd be a little bit further along. I mean, overall, though, the note-taking experience is definitely better on the Kobo because you have the ability to search your basic notebooks. So I'll just show that quickly if that's all right.
Yeah, sure.
This is just a basic notebook. So there's two options with notebooks. You've got I won't let me change because I'm on the first page. You have the basic notebook, which is just handwriting, just marks, and you have an advanced notebook which can do the handwriting conversion, but you can actually search this. So if I search this whole document, this basic notebook, which doesn't do handwriting recognition supposedly, but if I search the word feel, it will search through all of my handwritten notes. It must not be able to recognize that one. I'll try latency then. Yeah, and it's got it. It's found that word. So actually, this can search, a basic notebook, and that's a really nice feature. That's worth knowing about if you're making this choice. So I really do like that feature. And then I'll just show the advanced notebook briefly. But again, it's why can't they combine these two? If the basic notebook can do handwriting recognition, why not combine the two? But the advanced notebook goes further than that because it also allows you to do diagrams, which you can freehand and then double tap, and they become the block diagrams like this. And also it allows you to do handwriting recognition, and the handwriting recognition is accurate. Maybe just whilst you talk about the note taking in the Scribe, mate, I'll write a little bit, and you can sort of see out the corner of your eyes how fast and accurate the handwriting is. Although the last thing to say about this, and my biggest gripe about the Kobo Elipsa 2e and the Kobo Elipsa before it, is just everything you do, it seems to want to bring up a dialog box. And it's like, I'm just converting your notes. Would you like to cancel that? And it's like, no, what I'd like you to do is just do that in the background and not splash over my screen with a big, you'll see it in a moment. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer for no apparent reason. It's not just when you've got a large volume of notes, but it's also just sort of every now and then it seems to want to take a long time. And it's just these kind of interruptions to your flow, whereas we're at the point where technology, it can do this in the background. It can be transcribing your previous line as you're writing the next line. There's no reason why it shouldn't be able to handle that, in my opinion. And that would just make the whole use case of using handwritten notes and turning it to type text, which I use a lot. I do use that functionality a lot, but it just makes it a little bit less flowy. But it's there, and it's good. It's accurate. It's easy to edit the text. What about Scribe?
And it works offline. You don't have to be connected to the internet.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's a big plus in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So talking about the note-taking function in the Kindle Scribe, I think. So let's talk about the PDF function first, and palm rejection. So that's a big point and a big negative on the Elipsa 2e, because palm rejection, as Kit said, isn't as good. And actually in PDFs, it was the most annoying thing, in my opinion, on the Elipsa 2e, because you usually put your palm down and start writing. And doing that, the Elipsa 2e always wanted either to turn the page or to zoom in. Or move the canvas, and every time that happened, I couldn't do my annotation. With the Kindle Scribe, I almost never have this problem. So putting my palm down and start writing or start doing some annotations here, and it works flawlessly. The second thing, you have the option to change the pen type. So same as in the ebook, you have the option to change the pen type to the available pen types in the system. The only downside about using annotations in PDF files with the Kindle Scribe is you have to send those PDFs through the Amazon system, through the Amazon cloud. So you can't copy them via USB-C to the device, but you have to send them to the Amazon cloud to the device.
Yeah,
the
that's
PDF
fine
files
on the
get
Kobo. You can
yeah,
just you just plug it in and it's like a USB drive. That's really good. Don't have to export via the cloud. You can do it locally.
and that's actually one of the things. Not only I dislike about the Kindle Scribe, it's also similar on the Remarkable 2. I think you have to run a web service on the device to access the notes on the device with your internet browser. So that's also a clunky way of doing it. But what I have to say, it works without any problems on the Kindle Scribe. So sending the PDF files to the Scribe and sending it to emails. So you can send those PDFs when you're done to an email address, and that works without any problems. And you get a link and you can download the PDF file. And let's go back to the notebooks. So for notebooks, let's open this one. So there's no handwriting recognition in the Kindle Scribe. So there's no way to look up any notes you have done. But with the last software update, they added this overview, this page overview and grid overview in the system. And with that, you can pretty much very easily find what you're looking for. So you have this 3x3 grid. And with that, you can look up and you can swipe through the notebook and see what you have written on the page. And you can also move pages around. Sorry, that was wrong. So you can move pages around and you get those indicators here and move pages to that position you choose.
Yeah.
And that's actually pretty convenient. And a big plus and a big advantage over the software when it was released, because you couldn't do anything like this. When it was released, you had to swipe through the whole notebook, which is obviously pretty inconvenient, because if it's a longer notebook, if you're taking notes in school, for example, usually you continue taking your notes and then you have a notebook with 50 pages or something like that. And then you have to swipe through all these 50 pages to get to the page you want. So that changed with the last 2 updates, and that's a pretty nice way of doing it. And as for the latency, as we already established, that's pretty natural here as well. So 20 milliseconds, around 20 milliseconds, and that works pretty well. So I don't have any issues with it. And yeah.
It's an excellent screen feel as well. Yeah, absolutely. Just the pen on the screen is good. Somebody asked this is a good question. Are the annotations collected in a summary view? Yep, you can on both these devices. You can just take all of the annotations and export them as their own sort of separate document. You get it through as a PDF. Very useful function on all good e-readers and e-ink tablets. Absolutely. We wanted to talk about, we're both impressed by both these devices with their wake up times. These are, say, the battery life is excellent on both of them. I charged this once and I've been using it I charged it just to make sure it was charged for this live stream. Basically, it was the only reason. It could have continued for another
week. The same.
Yeah. And both of them, with their magnetic sleep cases. You ready? We'll do them side by side.
Yeah, let's do it. Let me get to the home screen. Sorry.
Yeah. And
so as you can see, this one is opening and closing from the top down. That's a bit more clunky in my opinion.
Yeah, I like the side as well. Yeah. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go. Oh, mine didn't go to sleep. I'll start it again.
I think the Elipsa 2E is a bit faster.
Yeah, it is. I think it's a bit faster, but neither of them are slow. They're both.
No, absolutely not.
So that was asleep. It really was. It's actually open. I thought it was stayed on, but it's quick.
It's very quick, the Elipsa 2E. I think that's a big advantage over Boox devices, for example. They are quick as well, but They usually turn off completely after some time, and that doesn't happen with the.
I mean, you got a choice to
Elipsa
never
2.
do that, but then you're going to find the battery. I mean, it is quick from sleep. I like the fact that you've got to, you've got the fingerprint reader, so you can just pretty much just one tap, and it is quite quick. But it's not as quick as the two that we have there. So if and that's the way it should be, and that's the way I felt like using this all the time when I had this in my bag as my main e-ink tablet. I just felt like pulling it out and getting straight back to the place that I was reading and enjoying reading. So that's the reason to go with these, as we said at the top. And they're both quick from startup as well. They're both, generally there's good things about them there. We've talked briefly about the exporting functions and being better on the Kobo. You can export them in various ways, as Word documents, as just text documents. You are more limited on the Kindle Scribe.
Absolutely.
You can search in normal notebooks. So note taking aside, and if you're primarily note taking, probably neither of these have got the functions that some of the more note taking orientated tablets have. If it's reading for you, then it probably comes down to what library maybe you already use and what you prefer. And certainly with the original Elipsa, before they added the bicolor lights, I thought the only real reason to recommend it to you over what was then available, the Kindle Scribe was if you were already locked in, or not locked in, but you already loved the Kobo library, because the Kobo library is very good. And incidentally, this is a nice thing about the Kobo, is that wherever you are, you've always got your 3 most recent just from a swipe down. So if you're reading something like you're reading this book, Storytelling, and you want to be making notes, then you've got that quite kind of quick switch between the notebooks, although this is not doing its best to advertise it, because that's not as quick. That's not a quick or flowy experience there either. But I think the libraries are
quicker.
That has happened twice in this stream so far, hasn't it? That's been reasonably slow. It's probably going to come back, I think, to the library, the sort of choice that you have. What do you think of the Kindle Scribe and its library, Khaled?
So I think the Kindle Scribe's Kindle's library in general is exceptionally well stocked, so you get everything in there, and you also have the audiobooks from Audible, so you have lots of choices to consume content on the device. And I think both companies have services for, I think it's Kindle Unlimited, and I'm not sure what it's called on Kobo, because Kobo isn't available in Germany right now and in Austria. But both have services you can subscribe to and get books monthly, on a monthly basis, or unlimited if they're in that subscription. And as you said, if you already have a Kindle or if you already have a Kobo, I think you are you will stay with the system you already have and you already are using. Switching to another system is always a bit of a problem, because you can't use, not all the time, but it takes a bit of work to use your old books and get them to the new system. So that might be an issue.
Michael's point there.
Yeah, but keeping the same ecosystem and sticking with that, I think you will be glad with either one. So both of them are pretty nice. Offer pretty nice experiences.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Well, the one thing I would say is, so I have been a Kindle Unlimited subscriber for some time, and I've been an Audible subscriber for longer, and I like both. But that's two subscriptions, and they've just increased them both, I think, a little bit as well, probably adding up to over £20. Whereas the Kobo Plus is both audio books and books for lending, with one price, I think, £12 in this country. So there is there's a benefit there, I think, that you're getting, and you do get, there are some audiobooks in Kindle Unlimited, but like sort of over 10 times less than there is on Audible. And it isn't as seamless as it could be, because, for instance, there's quite a lot of like included with Audible books on the Audible account, and they don't, you can't always, those just that are Audible only, you can't actually listen to them on your Kindle. You can listen to an Audible book that you've purchased with a credit. You can listen to that on your Kindle, but you can't get the sort of included with Audible for some reason on your Kindle. So that's an interesting one there as well. So I think that Kobo are trying to push this. They're now calling it Kobo Plus, which is, I guess, books plus audiobooks. And you know, it's good. There's lots in there. I've certainly found plenty to read on there.
Yeah. So one more point to add. I think that's interesting to know as well. So there's this Whisper Sync for Voice function on the Kindle, or on Kindles in general, on the Kindle Scribe as well, where you can switch between the book, the ebook, and the audiobook, the corresponding one. And it will just continue with the position you were in last in either one. So you can see this. Sorry, you can see this icon here down at the bottom of the screen.
I'll show that. Yeah.
And tapping it will open the ebook, and this one I haven't actually downloaded because I'm resetting my devices pretty often. But if you have it downloaded, you can just continue with the audiobook from the position you were last in the ebook. And the other way around, it works as well. So if you're listening to the audiobook and switch back to the ebook, you are at the position you were last listening to. So you can see there's the icon here as well, and tapping it will bring me back to the ebook. But the main problem here is that you have to buy the audiobook as well. So it's not included in your purchase of the ebook. So you have to buy the audiobook and the ebook, and it's additional cost.
Yeah, you've got to buy both, which is then quite a lot of money for enjoying one book. Yeah, so good feature, but just wish it could be a little bit more affordable.
Yeah,
exactly. I think is my internet letting us down again?
Yeah, it's a bit choppy, but it works.
It's often, sorry, we're still going, right? Okay, so let's move on from the libraries then. But yeah, it is true that actually, if you're in one library, stick with it. Probably, I think there is a point to the comparison, especially if you're buying your first e-ink tablet, because you know loads of people are very happy and using their small Kindle for their novels and things like that. And actually, if you want to upgrade to something that that you're more naturally using for work or learning on these than you are just reading kind of fiction, you're thinking that you want to read to take notes, you're going to read to learn on these devices generally, or you're going to need to review your work PDFs and export them and things like that. Yes, you could start a different platform than the one that you're already using. So really good questions, everything. We will get to them. We've got a couple more things we wanted to focus on. The cases. We've talked about the difference in where they where they open, and Khaled actually uses his the wrong way around. I say the wrong way. Is there a right way around? But it's not the way that I've used it, so it must be the wrong way.
Yeah, we got that before starting the stream.
Yeah, it must be that you open on this side. But the funny thing about the Kobo case is it is only one-sided. The case is actually doesn't have a back. So the case, you get good protection for the screen, but you have no protection for the sides at all, or the back. It's quite nice though, because the back of this device is this nice soft plastic. I quite like that feel compared to the Kindle Scribe feel, which is that more metallic feel. I mean, how's it with that? How's it with that case on it, Khaled?
Yeah, the case, as you have seen, is flipping from the top. Whoops! There goes my pen. Sorry, pen is gone.
Happened to me at the start.
But it goes from the top, which I don't like as much because it's just not as intuitive as using.
It's telling that Kobo moved away from that, from the first one.
What's nice about it is that you can use it as a stand for the Kindle. So you can put the Kindle on the desk like this and do your annotation. So let me get my pen.
That should also show you, I don't know if anyone saw that, but how quickly the Kobo Elipsa 1 just booted up when it hasn't been open for weeks and it's still got charge on it. So these devices have sorted out their wake up speeds really well.
And yeah, the second option, you can actually stand it up this way as well if you enjoy reading without touching the device. So that's actually a pretty sweet way as well. But what I don't like about it is that it sticks out a bit over the sides here. And don't know if you can see it. So the device ends here, and you have the cover here sticking out over the side, which is actually because of the pen. Because with that small lip on the cover, you're protecting a pen on this side. But holding it like this, you can always feel the edge of the cover. So that's not the nicest feeling, in my opinion. And last but
are you
least,
getting a bit of protection for the side of the device, do you think, on that?
Yeah, possibly. Obviously, if you're transporting it in a case or in a suitcase, for example, that's a bit more protection. And what's nice here is that you can put the pen here in this loop as well, and I think that stays there.
The Kobo pen sits quite nicely in there, but I don't know if you had this, but it sometimes does slip out even when it's closed because it's open
with
at
the
both
Elipsa.
ends. Yeah, the Kobo it just sort of it almost if you don't quite get it in, look, it will just.
Yeah. I didn't. Getting the pen in its position is actually the thing I have the most problems. Some problems with the Elipsa 2E. It's not as clear because on the Scribe you have this flat side. So there's one flat side, and you put it on the device with the flat side. That's not the case with the Kobo pen.
No. It magnets onto here. It's quite good just like leaving it. It does magnet onto the top there as well, and it magnets into its little thing. But that seems to be the weakest place, and then that's where you sort of leave it most of the time. Anyway, they're both. That's the case. I think the one thing to mention about this case, just before we move on from the case, is not having a back makes it still slightly lighter as well. So that's one thing. Again, I quite like the way that this can just come out of the bag. This is a very light device, even with the case on. And I think the more plastic feeling, sort of warmer to the touch feeling, suits me with the device with the plastic. Although that aluminium feel is quite a sort of modern tablet feel as well with the Kindle. But it does get, you're going to show us this, it's it does show up your fingerprints a little bit more than the recycled plastic here doesn't tend to show those up. It's got the sort of toned, it's not toned, it's slightly indented, textured, so any grimy fingerprints don't quite show up as much on the back of this, which is a nice thing. So what do we think then? Last sort of thoughts on the Kindle, mate?
No, I think you already covered it with the back is nice to the touch. It's a bit colder, so that might not suit everyone. So that was actually a problem with all the ink or e-readers as well, mainly made out of aluminum. But I personally like it. Like you said, you have the smudges on the back when touching it. But holding it in the hand, I think Amazon nailed the form of the device. So I think it's pretty nice to hold in the hand, but it's a bit heavier than the Kobo Elipsa 2E, which is a plus for Kobo because it's one of the lightest in the 10-inch segment. But this one is absolutely within the tolerable limits as well, I think.
Excellent, yeah. And so do you think maybe the Kindle is just a little bit more future-proof, though? It's got, there is still scope for updates. Somebody asked a question about updates, actually. We don't get to know about the updates until very shortly before they come live to you guys. I'm talking like a week. And if we do an update video, we've turned it around pretty quickly for you. So we don't know what to expect, really. I mean, the biggest thing we were expecting was the Word integration, which obviously came last time. They haven't shared anything about that update path as of yet. I'm imagining there will be more updates. I think they have published that there will be updates throughout the year. So we're expecting at least another one of those, because we've had 2 so far this year. Let's hope for some really, really useful things. I mean, the updates they've brought have been good, especially the pencil tool for me has been the highlight.
That's
but the
amazing.
overview of being able to move them around. But the pencil tool is by far the nicest individual tool for drawing. But as a platform for drawing, it's not necessarily the best, because you can't do things like layers. And we'll talk about color e-ink soon, and that could be where art on these things really goes. And I think if Kobo had a Wacom pen, it probably would be my recommend out of the two. It probably would be. But I just think if you're aiming for a lot of note taking, then the Scribe is better, because it has that Wacom pen technology. And I've probably gone in and out of signal there, have I? But yeah, the pen on the Kobo, if you're just a few incidental scribbles on your books, a few incidental notes, then this pen is fine. It's nothing wrong with it for that. But if you're thinking most of your time with the device is going to be with a pen in your hand, I think go for a device that's got the Wacom EMR tech, and I think that's probably why I would make that my recommend. How about that? How about you? Any other final thoughts on these before we move on to the color ink stuff?
Yeah, I think most of the shortcomings of the Kindle Scribe are software related. So the hardware, like I said, they pretty much nail it in every regard, in my opinion. You have the automatic brightness adjustment, you have the higher resolution screen, you have the low latency pen input, you have very uniform front light as well, but that's actually the same one. I think the Kobo Elipsa 2 also has a very nice front light. But in the end, I think the Kindle Scribe can be updated to reduce the shortcomings it has right now. So those are mostly software related, or pretty much all of them software related. And I think Amazon is dedicated to adding more functions. So coming back to the question before, so I fully expect Amazon to release more updates within the year. So like you said, one I think is coming, in my opinion, within the next few months, and maybe a second one at the end of the year. And with that, I personally would also pick the Kindle Scribe, because it will get updated, it will get better, in my opinion. And with the better hardware, you get the more future-proof device, in my opinion. Both are fine. I think the Elipsa 2 is a great device, but I think this one is the more future-proof.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think they're both excellent too. But I'm a very, very enthusiastic person for the e-ink tablet market. I think these are wonderful devices. Should we dive into a couple of comments while we're here then? Let's have a little look. What about the thoughts about the Supernote in comparison to the Kobo and Kindle? It's just not a reading focused device, so it doesn't really bear such close comparison with these two. The Supernote, it does allow you to have a Kindle app on there, so you can read Kindles, but it doesn't have some sort of quite basic reading features really, which is the lights, and also it doesn't have, I think, in the Kindle, although I suppose annotations you made in the Kindle app would go to the Kindle Cloud. You're going to be in PDFs or EPUBs and things like that on the actual device, which is a perfectly fine reading experience, don't get me wrong, but it is a device intended for writers, and so that's where my thoughts on that. Any other thoughts on that, Khaled?
No, actually, Supernote devices I haven't had the chance to test
haven't
yet.
tried them?
So
Oh,
no,
you
I
should.
don't have
Yeah.
one. They were actually pretty expensive to get to Europe, and never had the chance to get one.
No, we're gonna have to hook you up. Yeah, there are cheap cases for Kindle. This is a comment here that isn't coming up on the screen for some reason. And they're quite good and quite good quality. Yeah, I think the Kindle has probably been a large enough selling device that third parties are interested in making cases for it. So that's good. There we are. Yeah. Any particular recommends, Gokhan? Gokhan, can you tell us, please? Because I'm in the market for a cheap one myself. Where are we? Any of us? Scribe recently on sale? Yeah. Yeah, it's just not that great for PDF markups. Yeah, it's it does this. You have to send by cloud to draw on them, and then it does a convert to a kind of Kindle format, which is like a PDF. It's an interesting thing. We don't know why.
It got a bit better, I think.
Right.
It got a bit better with the last update. It's got a bit faster with the zooming function and panning the viewport around. But in comparison to Boox devices, it's far behind in feature wise. Yeah.
Yeah, and they added a contrast changing things as well, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for more casual reading, yeah, these two devices, you know, if you want to read A4 PDFs and you can, money's no object, then go ahead and buy the Tab X because it's fantastic experience reading on there. These for slightly more casual reading, probably the Kobo for the casual reading out of the two because of that lightness, I think. But then obviously casual reading on a smaller e-reader is probably still the thing to go for. The Paperwhite is an excellent device. The Oasis is an excellent device as well. Yeah, I would use an Ultra and a Kindle. Yeah, not a bad Wii combo, to be quite honest. Absolutely, and they're very different devices, and so they would complement things small and something small for bedtime reading is what King Tiddles has said. Okay, so my internet is letting us down once again. I need to get on my internet service provider. We pay a lot of money for this thing, and it's not as reliable as it should be. Right. Okay.
It's working.
South Park fan, I think. Yeah. Do you know anything about these mangas, mate, from Scroty?
To be honest, I'm not sure. I would have to check. I'm sure other devices, so Pocketbook devices, have the option to open CBR or CBC files as well as the Boox devices. But to be honest, I didn't try it with the Kindle Scribe because Amazon bought Comixology, I think, a couple of years back at this point, and you get the right format on the device if you buy the comics from Amazon, obviously. But I haven't tried third-party and side-loading comics on the device.
Cool. Okay, let's go into our sort of second segment then, if that's okay. This one will probably be a little bit shorter than our main event, really, but color e-paper, is it good enough? Now, Khaled and I, we talked at length before the previous live stream about color e-paper because you were waiting on your Tab Ultra C, and
Yes.
and you had some Kaleido 2 screens, which was your experience of color e-paper up to that point, I believe. I'm curious if your thoughts about color e-paper has changed since opening your Tab Ultra C.
So I think I have changed my opinion about ink Kaleido. So I have to use it a bit more, to be honest. But my first impression of it is actually pretty good. My main problem with the older Kaleido tech, like this one, let's see if I can put it up. Like this one is that you always have this shimmering on the screen because of the larger RGB subpixels and the low resolution of the RGB layer. And with the new Kaleido 3 screen, you don't have that as much. So it's reduced by a lot. And that actually works pretty well. And I think that's the most paper-like color experience besides a Gallery 3 that you can get at the moment. And I was pleasantly surprised at how great it looks with, that's to be said, with the front light activated. Because without the front light indoors, it's a bit dark.
Yeah.
But with the front light, it's absolutely great.
Looks fabulous outdoors in full sunlight, though.
So what was the question exactly? If the question was, I think, if it has a future,
change.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it good enough? Yeah. Is it
Absolutely.
good enough now? Is
I
color
think
ePaper good enough?
it is. So I think this generation, the Kaleido 3 screen with the higher resolution RGB layer, it might be good enough right now. Obviously, it's a bit different for everyone. So colors are a bit washed out compared to an iPad, for example. So that comparison is still in favor of an LCD display. But by itself, it's great. And I think showing it like this doesn't do it justice. Looking at it in person, it looks a bit more saturated, I think, than what I can show you right now on the screen.
Yeah, I do agree. It is quite difficult to capture exactly what the experience is like, and that's why, I wish we could just sort of have people see them. And I'm fascinated when people see ink for the first time, when they see coloring ink for the first time, because they're always pleased by the results. This what screen mode am I in? I'm always wondering if I go to HD, sort of try and show it at its best, really. There's one thing, incidentally, I didn't actually mention, but it's something that I definitely noticed about the Kobo is it does a lot of screen refreshes when it doesn't sort of seem to need to. But this, the colors look pretty good on here. There's an interesting thing about what we don't have in this. This is Scribe. This is Readly, I think, magazines, and they look good, but they don't look as good as a PDF does on the Neo reader, because the PDF does has that image enhancement dithering, which sort of allows it to get a more continuous gradient between colors. So this isn't it isn't really at its very, very best at this point, I think. Although I think it still looks pretty great. Yeah, we've had Kaleido 2 and Kaleido 2 Plus for some time now, but for you it's the extra pixel density of the color layer that's really changed things, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that smaller RGB pixels, so the smaller subpixels, make a huge difference in the more paper-like feel. So I think that's what it boils down to, is that it feels more paper-like. In my opinion, looking at it obviously has the colors, but I don't have the feeling there is a layer on top of the ink screen. With the older screens, I always saw that additional layer over the screen, and it was hard to ignore. With only color content on the older screens, it was okay, not great, but okay. With only text content on the older screens, I think it didn't work well. So reading a book on a Kaleido 2 screen wasn't something I enjoyed doing. But on here, it looks actually really great. And let me see.
Do you think the 300 DPI black layer has made the difference with that as well?
No, the older Kaleido 2 screens also had 300 PPI ink layers.
Oh, of course, because
underneath
the smaller ones will, yeah.
So that was the same. I think the ink screen underneath is actually the reason why the lower resolution color layer doesn't look as low res as it actually is. Because if you're looking at 150 ppi screens without that additional layer or without the screen underneath, they look more pixelated than what I'm seeing here. and that's actually you can see maybe there are some outlines on the characters of this comic, and those are black. And with having those black outlines, it's 300 ppi because it's not colored, and that looks actually pretty crisp. So I think
I agree.
that looks great.
When images are sort of outlined by black, it really does make it pop. Sorry, I've done what I was told not to do at the start, which is talk over you.
You didn't.
Oh gosh, absolutely. What about we're thinking we've got Kaleido 3 now. We're it's still got a way to go to be perfection. It's not perfection, but it is an improvement on the previous one. We've also got Gallery 3. Could be an interesting one, but certainly seems to have a problem with its refresh speed and leaving artifacts from the previous one. But what about, is the future actually RLCD, reflective LCD? This is a tablet I've been looking at. I've got the review of this coming out in the not too distant future. It's all filmed. Have you tried one of these yet?
Yeah, I have the same one, and I have a review on my channel.
Yes,
and I think it has some great advantages, but also some downsides compared to e-ink. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, for black and white reading, it's not as good. I think that this particular implementation, can you all see how the gradient of light to dark is across this white space? It's because the front light is only on one side. The front light's only on this side. So it's shooting over the screen, and there isn't one on this side. So whereas one thing that we're talking about that we absolutely love on the Kindle and on this screen and on the Kobo screen is the evenness of the front lights. Well, that's just missing on this one. I mean, it's when you take it out and you sort of see it in bright sunlight next to a traditional LCD that you really see the difference there. And the traditional LCD is just trying to compete with the sun's light, and this is, or an OLED even as well, and this is using that sunlight and using it with it in the same way this is. So this type of screen is still really the thing for reading outdoors and whenever there's a lot of light around. But I think they have a way to go to make it feel like paper. It certainly doesn't look like, as you say, the sort of the Kaleido 3 screen has really made it sort of feel like a sheet of paper to you. It's still not feeling like a sheet of paper on this.
No, absolutely.
I mean, yeah.
I actually had the best experience with the RLCD when holding it at an angle, so not 90 degrees, exactly from the top down. So just putting a bit of an angle to my eyes, and that's actually worked best for me. Yeah, you can see it like this, and you can see it's much more even when holding it. At an angle like this.
And if you hold it and read in landscape, it's fine that it's not fully even. It's not bad now. And that's the way to use it, really, as a sort of like separate screen. I've been using it on Space Desk, just hooked up to my main computer, so it just becomes a screen to the main computer, and so I type on my normal keyboard and just give my eyes a break when I have to type. And this one, although it's quite expensive, and I think this RLCD tech needs to not be as expensive, because it's inherently quite old tech. Reflective LCDs. My calculator screen is actually a reflective LCD, albeit monochromatic. But so it does need to get to a point where it's more affordable. But these Sun Vision displays look very interesting, very big screen RLCD displays as well. But then I looked at them and they're £1,500 or something like that, maybe even more. And so you just wonder, whereas you can buy a LCD screen of that size for £100, it's just a difficult trade-up. Are there any other options in e-paper?
With color, colors. No, I think obviously you can get a normal LCD and put a paper like screen protector on the screen, which reduces the reflections and gives you more of a paper-like feel. But other than that, I think RLCD, in Kaleido 3, and in Gallery 3 are the best options right now. And all of them have their strengths and weaknesses. And I think Kit's internet just gave up. Let's see if he comes back. Ah, you're back. Are you? Okay, so I think we can, let's continue with another question. Let's go a bit off topic. With this
I knew
one,
you were going to pick this one. I knew you'd pick that one. Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, obviously I had to, because I'm having the comic right here. Yeah, I loved it actually. It was a pretty nostalgic experience, because I grew up with The Next Generation, and watching season 3 of Picard was actually time traveling back to those good old days. So I really enjoyed season 3.
My mother and father-in-law are trying to get us to go back to Picard. We started Picard. We love Discovery. That's really good. But we didn't. My wife and I didn't get past the first season of Picard. But they keep saying, no, you have to go back and get into it. So maybe that
You
kind
have
of
to watch
nostalgic
the first
time.
season.
Maybe that's what will get us back. Yeah. I was just going to ask about like the slurry technology, mate, and
Yeah, right.
also
I
there was
forgot
a
that
brand
one.
you told me about. Try the color ePaper screen, Liquid Vista. We talked about that before. Could you tell us a bit about those options?
So Liquid Vista was actually a company that I think was active in 2011 to 14, something like this, and then got bought by Amazon. And everybody thought Amazon will release a color e-reader after acquiring Liquid Vista, but never happened. And nobody knows why. So the website of Liquid Vista was updated with the addition of it being an Amazon company, but went offline, I think, a year after the acquisition. And it was, so I'm not sure about the specifics, because it was a long time ago. But they had some demos that were, I think, pretty interesting. And I think they had the same problems as e-ink screens. So refresh rate was a bit slower than on traditional e-ink screens. So that might have been a problem for mass production, or rolling the technology out for Kindle e-readers, because obviously Amazon is, I think, pretty cautious about what they are putting out there on their Kindle e-readers, and don't do much experimenting. So they also, with the frontlight, or with the dual tone frontlight, they were, I think, one of the last companies that implemented that. And I think Amazon will also be one of the last ones to implement color e-ink. So, and DES screens, I haven't used one yet. So can't anything, only watch the reviews and the last ones of Voya, which were pretty interesting, but haven't used them firsthand yet.
They seem to suffer quite a bit with longevity and how long they last for. They seem to degrade a bit with time. Sorry for all of the interruptions in my connection. Yeah, they seem to, the DS slurry seem to degrade a bit with time, it seems, from what I've seen, like say on other reviews. I probably am going to wrap up this soon and give my internet service provider a call, so see what's what with this. But if I'll just apologize for the poor connection.
So I think it went out again. I will get one question here. I think that's an interesting one, mostly for viewers from Germany. So I think there might be a version of the Elipsa 2e for Tolino, but as of now, I don't think it will have handwriting recognition or handwriting functions, because with the Kobo Sage, which was introduced a couple of years ago, Tolino also added the Tolino Epos 3 to the lineup, and it also doesn't have handwriting features. So what's holding them back? I don't know, because they actually announced software updates in 2021, I think. So 2021, 2 years ago, they told customers that they will update the software at the end of 2022, which didn't happen. So let's see where it is going. So as of now, maybe, but I wouldn't bet on it having handwriting features. So I think, let me see if I have a few more questions here. So Kate is back. So maybe let's get this one. So how is writing on the Tab C? I think it works great. So you have the same functions as on the, let's get a notebook open. You have the same functions as on the regular Tab Ultra, on the Tab Ultra C. And in addition to that, you have colors you can add to the mix as well. So you have the option, sorry, that was the wrong notebook option. Because now you have the option to create text notebooks and handwriting notebooks. And I actually wanted to do a handwriting notebook. And here you have different color options. I'd say latency is a bit more pronounced than on the Tab Ultra, but I have to finish testing, so I can't say for sure right now, but it's still very low. So as you can see, that works pretty nice. And you have these color options here as well. So let's pick this one, for example, and that works nice as well. So note-taking is actually pretty great, and the writing feel of on the Boox Tab Ultra C is, I'd say, pretty much the same as on the Boox Tab Ultra. So the screen is not as textured as on the Kindle Scribe or Kobo Elipsa or Remarkable 2, but it's a bit smoother, but the writing experience is pretty nice, I'd say. So okay, I think I'm not sure if Kid is back. I think he still has internet connection problems. So I'd say we can finish up. We deviated a bit from our topic of Kindle Scribe in comparison to Kobo Elipsa. But I'd say it's interesting to see where the journey is going with ink in general. So thank you for joining us, and check out our other videos on our channels. Thanks, and have a great night.